Bro, these ICE raids are nuts, man. Watching this protest on television, it's like...
The raids are nuts? All
of it's nuts.
Yeah, I think both sides are taking it a little too hard.
Well, I don't think the Trump administration, if they're running and they said, we're going to go to Home Depot and we're going to arrest all the people at Home Depot, we're going to go to construction sites and we're going to just like tackle people at constructions. I don't think anybody would have signed up for that. They said, we're going to get rid of the criminals and the gang members first.
Well, not only is the Trump administration doing the opposite of what they promised, they are not only focusing on criminals and gang members, they are in fact doing ICE raids at Home Depot parking lots at the direction of Stephen Miller, who wants to increase the number of people getting deported. You also have a whistleblower who's now coming out and sharing that Trump's own Justice Department is making, he was in Trump's Justice Department, but he's making the allegation that they were essentially told to ignore the courts. I'm not kidding. So let me give you all the details on this. So again, this is a whistleblower at Trump's own Justice Department making the stunning allegation. The whistleblower's name is Erez Reuveni. Now, he is the Trump administration lawyer specifically who admitted that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported mistakenly. Now, according to Reuveni, Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove said the Trump administration's deportations should be carried out regardless of any court orders preventing them. That's a pretty big revelation. And I'm not okay with that. We have a system of checks and balances. Even if the executive branch doesn't like a ruling from our judicial branch, if you believe in our Constitution, if you believe in our system of government, you must abide by that decision or appeal it and go through the process. But according to Reuveni, that is not what the direction was. So in March, Bove allegedly stated in a meeting that the Trump administration was about to carry out deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. Bove indicated these removals were a priority for the administration and stressed to all in attendance that the planes needed to take off no matter what. And indeed, we had shared a story with you indicating that after a federal judge had told the Trump administration that they are not to send a flight of immigrants to El Salvador, they did it anyway. And they're like, oh, too late. They're in midair. Sorry. So just totally ignoring what our judicial branch is ordering the executive branch to do in that case. Now, and if a court order were to try and stop the deportations, Bove stated that the DOJ would need to consider telling the courts F you and ignore any such court order. Now, Reuveni also stated that he was instructed by the Trump administration to refer to Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a terrorist, but he refused to do so because he was not aware of any evidence indicating that Abrego Garcia was a terrorist. There was nothing to back up that claim, so he refused to do it. Now, the Trump administration denies Reuveni's allegations, but interestingly enough, Bove was at a House hearing today, and you're about to watch Senator Adam Schiff ask some important questions. Let's see what Bove had to say.
Senator, I have no recollection of saying anything of that kind. To the extent I
Wouldn't you recall, Mr. Bove, if you said or suggested during a meeting with Justice Department lawyers that maybe they should consider telling the court you? It seems to me that would be something you'd remember, unless that's the kind of thing you say frequently.
Well, I've certainly said things encouraging litigators at the department to fight hard for valid positions that we have to take in defense of our clients.
And have you frequently suggested that they say you and ignore court orders? Is that also something you frequently do, such you might not remember doing it on this occasion?
No, and as I explained, I have never directed.
So did you or did you not make those comments during that meeting?
Which comments, Senator?
You really need me to repeat it? Did you suggest, as Mr. Reuveni wrote, that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts you and ignore any such court order?
I did not suggest that there would be any need to consider ignoring court orders. At the point of that meeting, there were no court orders to discuss.
Well, did you suggest telling the courts you in any manner?
I don't recall.
To me, it seems like he did. When you say I don't recall, it's a way of avoiding perjuring yourself, but also you're not telling the truth. Like, you don't have to tell the truth. I don't recall. It's like the weaselly tactic that a lot of bad actors engage in when they're asked these tough questions. And look, there are huge consequences for everyone when these deportations happen without due process. People get so mad about that. I get it. I know that if you're here in the country and they're setting you up for deportation, you're not necessarily going to get a trial case. I get that. But you should be able to get a court hearing, an opportunity to defend yourself, because guess what? If you don't have a process of due process, people are going to mistakenly get deported. And that's what happened to Abrego Garcia. And by the way, that has happened literally to US citizens that were mistakenly deported. In fact, Time Magazine published a piece today that is fascinating, something that we should all know about. So less than 6 months into President Trump's second term, courts have directed his administration to bring back at least 4 people that they've deported. In the latest example, a court of appeals ordered the federal government to facilitate the return of Jordan Salmiran, who was deported to El Salvador in May, just 30 minutes after the same court issued a stay of removal according to court documents. It seems to back up the claims that we're hearing from Reuveni, the whistleblower. The federal government said his deportation occurred because of a confluence of administrative errors. You know, a good way to mitigate administrative errors is to have a system of due process and to actually value that system of due process. Give the individuals who are set for deportation an opportunity, a hearing before a judge to make their case. Because who's to say the federal government doesn't make a mistake and accuse you of being an undocumented immigrant when you might be a citizen or someone who's in the country totally legally? Shouldn't you at least get an opportunity to prove yourself, to make your case? Shouldn't you get an opportunity to say, hey, look, the federal government's making a mistake here. Maybe it's a case of mistaken identity. Who knows? But these are people's lives. These aren't games. We're not talking about stuffed animals here. We're talking about human beings, whether they're in the country under protected status, whether they're American citizens. These mistakes keep getting made. And like, the carelessness about it is enraging. Because if you as an American are okay with the erosion of rights for undocumented people, that means you're okay with the erosion of your rights because it affects you as well. There's more. I mean, the federal government, again, said that the deportation of the gentleman I was referring to earlier, confluence of administrative errors. In the order, judges cited the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I mean, it goes on and on, but at least 4 different people the courts have said need to come back to the States because they were either mistakenly or illegally deported out of the country. Because when you don't care about human beings and all you care about is increasing your deportation numbers to engage in shadow boxing or this like made up pretend competition with the deporter in chief, President Barack Obama. I mean, the people who lose out in the end is everyone, literally everyone, whether you're an American citizen or you're here in the country under some other status, right? Either you're undocumented, protected status, green card, whatever it is. You have to protect rights. Rights matter. Due process matters. Having the ability to defend yourself in court matters for all of us. That is a right that makes this country great. And to see that being eroded right now in real time is infuriating, to say the least. So I commend Reuveni for being the whistleblower that he is and came out, told the truth about what Bove is saying behind the scenes. And I would like to see Democrats try to do a little more than just engage in performative Senate hearings. I'm glad that they're having the hearing, but let's follow up the hearing with some action. I mean, we have not been able to rely on Congress for anything during any administration, but certainly during the second Trump administration. We've been relying on the courts, and luckily the courts have been doing their jobs. But hearing that people keep getting mistakenly deported is, again, infuriating, and it should be infuriating for everyone.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.